Welcome to this week's watercolor landscape tutorial. I'm Bill Holcomb and I'll be guiding you through step by step on how to paint the famous fairy pools in Scotland. Here's a list of the materials used in today's video. Let's start with Windsor Blue Wash, having laid down a little bit of clear water as well, and using the mop brush for this. Come down to the distant mountains and then go over the furthest ones because they will be darkened up later. They'll have a deep blue color to show distance. Then whilst that's wet, continuing with the mop brush, we lay on some stronger pigment of the Windsor Blue. That's all we're going to need for the sky on this occasion. And then once that's dried off with a hairdryer, go to your number 10 brush and you can have a combination of your Windsor Blue and light red for this distant mountain colour. And at the bottom section of that mountain, you can just add water and let the colour fuse in. Do the same on the right hand side. And on this occasion, the light from the sun will be coming from the right side. So the right side will be light, and then the left side in some shadow, as you'll see as we progress with painting the rocks. But these distant ones are just all one hue with no real definition, just emphasizing distance. So neaten that up and then we'll dry that off with a hairdryer. And once again, remember that the pigments do dry lighter. Just neatening up here, making sure I've got the right depth of colour. And now that's dried off. Now I've laid, first of all, a wash of yellow, the Windsor yellow, and a little bit of yellow ochre, with little gaps here and there. And then you can drop in a tiny bit of your light red as well, as you can see on the left hand side of this principal rock. It's more like almost a mini mountain. Then you lay down little crevices and cracks and so forth in a darker colour. And then you use the side of the brush scraping technique with your number 5 or number 4 if you don't have a 5, a 4 will work, to give a little bit of texture to the mountain areas and rocks. And once again, you see that it is darker on the left because that's casting shadow. Now we've got a little range of hills here coming down to where the pools are, and that's a Windsor yellow to start with. You could use your number 10, or if you feel more comfortable, use your number 4 or 5 brush. And then we'll lay in some permanent sap green whilst that's wet. So this is wet in wet. You can still use your small brush here on this part and just vary it, break it up rather than one massive colour but broken with variation. Same on the other side. And down to the base of that little mini mountain in the middle. Then you can load your brush with a combination of yellow and sap green and tap the side of the brush onto that grassy area, and it's very effective and quick for achieving grass and little clumps of bushes and so forth on that bank. and you can scrape the brush along a little as I demonstrated there. So that's another little trick that you can use to quickly achieve a result. So we've talked about scraping the side of the brush for rock formations to make them realistic and on the sides of mountains. And we've also demonstrated that for grassy areas. This rock, which is coming down right down to the pool area, is once again darker on the left side, using the wet in wet approach. So as always, you lay your lighter color on first and then get darker and darker in your colors. As I'm doing now on this rock that comes right down to the water's edge. Combination here of yellow ochre and Windsor yellow. It's always good to have a variation in colors and hues rather than one boring block of color. Then wet in wet again. You can have a mixture of your light red and your Windsor blue to give you this brown, dark brown color. If you had more red into it, it would be a light brown color. And both of those colors are extremely strong from the tube. You squeeze them into your pans and then you can use them over and over as they harden. And you'll find that you only need very little of them to achieve the colors you want and the strength of the color. So they last a very long time. There are links if you wish to order materials such as the Winsor and Newton paints and the various brushes from people like Blick Art. Also, Utrecht is owned by them. And also your paper, your Arches £300 rough or your £140 rough. Links are there for various suppliers, including Amazon. So we're coming down and we're strengthening up rock areas using that scraping technique. And now this is very interesting part of the painting because we are painting in the English style of transparent watercolor, as always. And therefore we are using the whites of the paper to achieve the whites we need in the painting. So the water that's cascading down these rocks in the waterfall is the white of the paper. So we paint the rocks around it first, and then once that's dried, we'll add a little tiny little bit of shadow here and there of a combination of the blue and a tiny touch of the red, like we're doing now, to help the realism of the cascading water down the waterfall. And you can scrape that on again with the side of the brush. Now we've come down to the pool of water and we lay down some clear water. You can see it's a little bit discolored here, but it won't matter because it's going to be a very deep blue. And where it meets the rocks there on the sides, left and right, we leave a little bit of light. And there is foaming water from the cascading waterfall at the bottom of the waterfall, and you'll see we're going to leave a very large broken white area for that foaming water using the paper again. So whilst that water is on there, we start at the very bottom of the painting with our number 10 brush and Windsor blue and start laying in some of the watercolor. And bearing in mind we're dealing with water here, the strokes of the brush will be from left to right, so horizontal, which helps us indicate that it is water. So as always, our light colour first. I know that looks fairly dark, but you'll see it will be darker still. And always remember that the pigments do dry lighter, much lighter. When we have to do the video, of course, we have bright lights um, shining to be able to effectively do the video. And then at the end, we can take a photograph in a better lighting situation, more realistic, um, to show the finished painting. So sometimes you do notice a variation in the intensity of the colours, and that's a reason. So now we have done a mixture of Windsor blue and permanent sap green to give this turquoise type tinge to the water. And then we're strengthening up, working from the bottom again. Work our way up, and remember to like and subscribe so that we can notify you of future videos. And also don't be afraid to make comments and suggestions, and to forward on our tutorials to your friends. So now we have that color again, giving the turquoise feel to it of the permanent sap green and the Windsor blue, and the edges of the foaming water where it meets the pool are softened by laying down some clear water and then dabbing with tissue to lift, and that gets rid of a hard edge. So that's another tip that I can give you. So throughout this painting there have been a number of tips and tricks, and there I was just lifting a little bit to show contrast of light and dark in the water. Well, here's the finished painting. I hope you've enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.